I'm Darvin Zuch, running for CBE Trustee in Wards 12 and 14, and
I'm Monica Truong. I'm running for Wards 8 and 9.
What's your website, Monica?
Oh, yes, it's Monica Truong. That's TRUONG.ca. So monicatruong.ca.
Well, I mean, this is so difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to be so careful in what we say and we think, and we are representing. Yeah. And I think myself, like there's a lot of things that as a trustee we have no responsibility. Curriculum is one, right? That's Calgary Board of Education.
Yeah. It's a provincial power.
It has nothing to do with us. And our ability to influence the curriculum, I think, is entirely non-existent. Maybe parents can get together and represent it, but I don't think we can do much about it.
Well, actually, might be controversial, but there is a way to influence it. That's to participate in the pilot. I know a lot of school boards or districts have decided not to participate because they don't believe that the curriculum is a good curriculum. I think is it 61 out of 67 of the districts have decided not to participate in the pilot, but I think that might backfire on them because when you participate in the curriculum, then the province will listen to your feedback because that's why they're doing a pilot, in order to get the feedback on the curriculum from the people who participate. So if you're not participating in the pilot, you don't get your voice heard.
That makes perfect sense.
And not only that, you don't get the financing to help your teachers learn how to deliver this curriculum. This curriculum is a radical departure from our old curriculum. So the teachers need training, and training costs money. So if this curriculum goes through with some modifications that you as a board, as a district did not participate in, you'll still have to teach this curriculum, and then you have missed out on the opportunity for training for your teachers. And you'll have missed out on the opportunity to give feedback, which is the point, is that the ATA was saying that they didn't get a chance to give feedback or participate in creating this curriculum. Well, I think now is the chance.
That's true. Yeah, that makes absolute sense to me. I mean, again, as a trustee candidate, I don't think I've got a lot of ability to impact it because that's above our scope. But as a parent, absolutely. I want the teachers to know what we're getting into and make the recommendations because most likely this curriculum is going to pass. And so what our teachers need to know there's learning materials that need to be created. There's better get started now rather than later.
I think so, and CBE being one of the bigger boards will have a lot more feedback coming from the teachers if they participate in the pilot. And so in that way we can change the curriculum a little bit.
So I don't know, I've been reading through the curriculum because I get questions. Why is it not possible to pilot the curriculum in certain CBE schools and not others? As a business person, I'm looking for solutions, and that's one of the things I would say is let's do a small pilot in some schools, and other schools can continue with the old curriculum instead of switching everybody over.
I think that's a great suggestion. Why not try it that way? Maybe there are some schools that are more keen to try it out, even though they may or may not be in favor of it. They want to know, and they want to give feedback. That is a great idea, Dar.
Well, it's, I guess that's
it's an IT solution, isn't it? It's like a beta testing, right? Beta testing.
Absolutely.
Just try it a little bit. If it doesn't work, then try something a little bit different. If it doesn't work, try something a little bit more different until you find a solution that works good enough for now.
Yes. So, I mean, you and I neither one of us are teachers, but as parents, it seems like a obvious solution, and I think that's why we're both stepping up to ask these questions.
Yeah. And I think it's great if the school board is filled with people with different backgrounds. Just parents who have no educational teaching background. Teachers would be great. Business people. Like, I think that variety of background knowledge will make for a better board who make better policies for the general population.
Absolutely. As I've been investigating education with my kids being in kindergarten and grade 2 and grade 4, and 2 of them are in CBE programs, I've been asking a lot of questions about why our CBEs the way it is. And ultimately, we've got the Calgary Board of Education, then we have Alberta Education, and above Alberta Education, there really isn't another body that defines what it is. It's really here in Alberta and us Albertans and parents that have the responsibility and authority to direct what do we want from an education system and what do we want our kids to learn and what will be successful for them as they move through the grades and then eventually get out into the workforce. So that's up to us.
Yeah, I mean, the curriculum is a provincial power. So it's the province and the people in the province who can direct that. There's the federal, they don't have any say in our province's educational policies. And I feel very strongly that we should make policies fit the people, or institutions should fit the people, not create people to fit the institution. So we should make policies that fit for whoever's using the policy at the end user, right? If IT speak, right? And if we do a little kind of thought experiment, just think, I don't know for sure, and I'm sure most people don't know for sure, but do you think the curriculum in BC is different than the curriculum in Alberta? Yes. And then the curriculum in the US, is it different from the curriculum all across Canada? Very likely, right? And the curriculums in China, will they be different from our curriculum in North America? Very likely. In Europe and all those countries around the world, they all have different curriculum. And I think, generally speaking, the curriculums work, right? So I think, actually, why do we have to have one curriculum for everybody in Alberta?
Well, I give you one reason.
Okay.
It's more work to have multiple curriculums to prepare for everyone.
Well, only if you buy into this educational philosophy that we have been buying into for the last 100 or so years, which is the standardization philosophy. Like, that is not about what it is that in order to learn, children must be taught, and adults are needed to develop and deliver a prescribed curriculum with predetermined standards. And the curriculum must be divided into subjects, and children must be divided into their age groups. Benchmarks, grading, and testing are necessary to ensure that standards are met, and a high school diploma demonstrates that a student has successfully received a well-rounded education. That's the philosophy that we have been using, and that has brought us far, Dar. And for that, we should be really grateful. But I think we need a new educational philosophy, and I think it should be the innate philosophy, which says that young people are innately curious and biologically driven to learn through play, explore, and engage with people of all ages. And if this joyful drive to learn is coupled with a rich, engaging environment, which teachers can supply, then it creates an optimal situation for young people to gather the skills and knowledge that they need for their future and on our future.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one parent I spoke to about 3 weeks ago, not part of the CBE. He's a manager in a large farm in southern Alberta. His name is Peter. And I said, Peter, what do you think of Alberta education here? And he says, I don't think very much about it. I said, okay, well, why don't you think very much about it? And he didn't have an answer. but he thought about it a little bit, and he said, you know, when my kids came home from school, they didn't ask me any questions. When I talked to them, they didn't have anything to say. They weren't curious about the material, and when what they learned in school was so far removed from what they did in home and their chores and everything that just didn't seem relevant, and they weren't engaged. And I think that that's an expectation that a lot of us haven't verbalized, but remains true of us. Like, we want, when our kids come home, for them to tell us interesting things and ask us why things are the way they are, so we can engage with them and we can participate. And that doesn't seem to happen today.
Well, I had the same experience with my child. When she entered grade 1, she'd come home and just want to sit in front of the TV for like an hour or so. And when I asked her, you know, how was her day, and she said, nothing. It was okay.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of our engagement about school. It's like it's kind of like quashed their curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the citizen or the illiterate of the future is not somebody who's not able to read and write, as Alvin Toffler said. It's somebody who's not able to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for them to learn, unlearn, and relearn, the person has to be curious about their world.
Yes, I agree. And I think my opinion, again, not knowing very much, being a normal parent like most parents in Calgary, I think our teachers are probably very good. They're very engaged. Our lights turned off, so we're going to keep recording here, but turn our lights on. Very engaged. But I've spoken to a lot of folks that have been teachers in the past that are no longer teachers, and they seem to share the same passion that you're talking about. How do we get kids to be more curious? And by and large, these teachers that are no longer teachers said there's so much extra work and playing the game of administration that they lose their passion. It's just no longer fun for them. And if it's not fun for the teachers are not going to make it fun for the kids. And I think that is an area where we can get involved as trustees, is figure out how we can make the culture in the CBE more enjoyable for teachers and also more enjoyable for kids. I don't know what that looks like, but I think there's probably a lot of passionate people within the ranks of CBE that feel the same way.
Absolutely.
We got to find them.
I believe that teachers go into teaching because they love kids and they want to help them find their passions in learning, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it can't happen if the teachers are like burdened with over huge amounts of bureaucratic paperwork and forms and stuff. I think that could be a possible burden for the teachers if we could remove it. They would be able to put more of their energies into the actual teaching.
Yes.
And I think a lot of parents also are behind changing our system. In a recent nationwide survey of Canadian parents, it was found that 3 out of 4 believe that the education system would be a lot better if students were able to be given more time to pursue things that they were interested in, and if they were given more choice in general in their education. And actually, in that same survey, 2/3 of Canadian parents believed that an education reset is needed.
Well, I think we've got a very talented and education population here in Calgary that being informed, they would be very much in favor of that and helping to lead education across our Western nations, because that's very important. Here in Alberta, we've always had parents and people in Alberta that want to find answers and want to drive answers. And I feel that for the parents of kids here anything we can do to explore those things is well worth it. I think parents are very supportive of those ideas.
Well, I think Alberta has maybe I'm biased, but the best
Yes.
educational system. All like generally speaking, like we have the charter schools, we have private schools, we have our public system, and we have a lot of choice within the public system, which is great. And I'm an advocate for choice because we live in a free society, and what is freedom without choice? If you're not free to choose from amongst a variety of things, then you actually don't have freedom.
Yes.
So I'm all about supporting choice for parents.
Yes. I not only enjoy choice, but as I've been looking at the school system for the last 8 months and talking to parents and talking to teachers, it seems to me that my kids, they're involved in sports, they've got their clubs, they've got their friend groups, we've got our spiritual organizations. For a lot of parents, they also have cultural organizations, which we don't have. As a family, we have grandparents, and I think we need to have a broader scope, probably not as the Calgary Board of Education, but certainly as Alberta Education, because we need to take the learnings that we want as Albertans with our kids and help all these groups to better teach our kids. There's in my mind, there's no reason where when our kids belong to a cultural organization. So my family came from Central Europe, and we have our heritage and our traditionals there. And if we did belong to such a group to promote that, I think it would be great if that organization also was involved in the teaching of our kids in a more structured way. Like, let's talk about science and how it relates to whatever science was in Central Europe.
I believe that education or learning happens all the time, everywhere for our curious child. It's not just in the 4 walls of school and between the hours of 9 and 3 that they learn. Learning happens all the time.
And it has to be encouraged to happen all the time, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh goodness, I feel I'm taking us a little bit off track here. I know you have your notes. What do you want to talk about, Monica?
Well, one of the parts of my platform is Education Reimagined, and what I strongly believe in is self-directed education, where it's a learner-centered model of education where we support the children's passions and interests and inclinations, and we work from a strength-based model. Whatever the things that they're good at, we help them get better at it. And because they're good at that, they become really confident, and then they can tackle the things they're not so good at. Or how about this? The things they're good at, then they can have other people who are good at those things do those things that they're not good at. And then since we all have different strengths, we all work together using our strengths, then our deficits are not as much of a problem, right? We are covered. We have each other's back, and our different strengths can work together to create a solution that one well-rounded person couldn't ever have thought of.
That's really how success works in the adult world. Whether we're in a volunteer position or whether we're at work, that's exactly what's expected of us, is to use our strengths and to lean on other people for what their strengths might be to come up and be successful together.
And that's what I feel is one of the things about school that doesn't resonate so much with me is that we kind of keep our children in a box until they're adults, and then they can participate in the adult world. That's the feeling that you get from school. Whereas I think that children need to be engaged in the life that they want to live right now as they are growing up. And in doing so, they find their passions and they find their interests. And in doing so, in finding their passion and interests, they contribute to the wholes of society. I read this book called The Dark Horse, And one of the stories that really stuck with me is about this lady who lives in New Zealand or Australia, and she did not do well in the traditional school setting. I think she ended up dropping out in high school and then doing menial labor, and of course that was not satisfying. But one day she discovered astronomy. A relative of hers was interested in it, and she discovered it through him, and she became really passionate about astronomy. And because of that, she pursued it by herself, with the help of the astronomy community locally and worldwide. And she ended up discovering a planet, and I think an asteroid as well.
Wow.
And that is an achievement that very few PhDs in astronomy ever do.
Yeah.
But because it was her passion, she put all of herself into it, and she was able to do great things. And that's what I believe that will help our children succeed if we nurture their passions and interests. And I believe we can do that in school if we follow the innate model of education, that innate philosophy, and the self-directed model. But I believe it is difficult to shift a huge beast like the Calgary School Board. But especially if it's just totally like out of the blue. But there's actually 500 self-directed education spaces or schools worldwide, and this paradigm of self-directed learning has been tested and iterated and tested again and again for decades now, and the model has shown to work.
I'm not familiar with that. Are you aware if we have that in the Calgary Board of Education today?
In a way, we have it at the high school, one of the high schools. I can't remember right now. But the kids can come and take the classes, or they can come take it asynchronously, and it's specifically for kids who are in sports often choose this school. I forget the name of the school, but that's kind of the model. But I think this model can be taken down to the junior high level, and it can be across all high schools, not just one high school, and even further down to the elementary level.
I know as a parent, if my kids had the ability to be exposed to all that diversity and inclusion of various disciplines like astronomy, because that's not something I'm able to provide for them. I don't have a telescope. I don't know about the different galaxies and star clusters up there. But if they had the ability to see a telescope and have spare time to ask questions, and I would be overjoyed as a parent to see my kids and come home and for them to tell me about the Milky Way and whatever they learned about Saturn and all of this. I don't know if that's in CBE or not right now, but I think that's the kind of stuff that parents get really excited about, because it's something the kids are engaged with. There's something that the parents can get brought into, develop that relationship with their kids. And I think those are exactly the things that Alberta parents and Calgary parents would be all about. And certainly that's my opinion as a parent. Those are the things that really get kids and parents and communities excited.
Well, actually, even within Canada, there are examples of self-directed education, publicly funded schools who use the self-directed education model. And one is in BC, in Vancouver. It's called Windsor House, and they have K through to high school, and all the students are following a self-directed model.
Interesting.
And then there's another school in Toronto called Alpha, Alpha 1 for the elementary years, and then Alpha 2 for high school, junior and high school. They are also a model of the self-directed education philosophy.
There's talking about big ideas. There is some students in the Netherlands. I think it could be quite similar. These students in the Netherlands believed that they could put a satellite into space, and this happened about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it takes for someone in grade. Goodness, what that would make them 16, 15 or 16.
Yeah, probably like just about high school or the end of junior high,
Yes.
9 or 10.
Because it doesn't take just 1 year to launch a satellite into space.
Yes, I think it took a few years, and it was because they were supported in their interest by a teacher.
Yes.
And the teacher didn't know anything about how to launch a satellite in space, and I think they ended up not doing that. But along the way, they learned so much.
Yes. Anything we can do to support that type of activity.
Yeah.
What kind of impact does that have on a kid if they've come through grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and they've launched a satellite into space? How does that change their trajectory for the rest of their life?
I think the sense of empowerment that a child gets from doing a passion project like that is invaluable. Invaluable. Yeah.
That's what in my feeling is, if we can make even small changes so that we can make room for those types of activities within the lives of our kids, that's a success for me.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
It's called the 20% solution. If we could cut 20% out of the school day, either like an hour out of every 5 hours of school, or maybe just 1 day out of the 5 days of school, for children to do a passion project.
That's a great idea.
That is a small shift. I mean, they would still be covering the curriculum, but then on the 5th day, they get to choose a project that they're interested in doing, and the teachers would just support them in doing this project. I mean, I think it could be the ideal teaching scenario where all the students who are in your class or in a class are interested and really want to do the thing that the class is all about.
Yes.
Right?
I think so.
No classroom management issues at that point.
Well, I'd like to go a step further than that. I would like to take that idea and find ways that moms and dads throughout Calgary can be involved in that. We've got so many engineers, medical researchers, software developers, all these people that have this terrific education that's come out of the U of A, NAIT, SAIT, U of C, all these colleges. They're very smart people that we have in these states. And if we can take all their capabilities and help mentor our kids in the school, whatever their passions are, I think we've got, because that's never, I don't think that's really been tried, because it seems too hard, I think, for administration to get them in. But there's passionate parents and moms and dads in the city.
No, where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, goodness.
And that's what the Windsor House and the Alpha do a lot too. They bring in parent experts to help support the teaching. The parents would be kind of like an unpaid TA.
Yes. Well, and here's something else I think we can do. We talked about Albertans being the having the full authority over the education system here. There's no reason why we cannot, as trustees, Monica, put forward a private member's bill in our legislature here in Alberta.
Oh, I've never thought. I'm not a political
I think we should
person,
do this.
so I have no idea. I just stepped in because I felt like I must do something.
I think, the money is tight in this province, but I don't think there's any reason why we cannot forward a private member bill, maybe through EI, maybe through employment insurance, maybe through a tax benefit for Alberta employers, so that the moms and dads can be released from their job for 1 day, still have their salary paid through whether it's a tax benefit or an EI program, to come and share that passion with their kids. I think that's that needs to be a new direction for us to explore at the CBE.
That would be cool. I mean, passion always ignites passion, right? So if you have passionate people teaching their passion, whoever is learning will feel that passion and become even more impassioned for that subject.
That's true.
That's a great idea.
And it makes such a I think it fires all of us up for employees of Alberta companies to go out for one day and talk with all the passion and curiosity of kids and then come back into the workforce. Man, I can only believe that's going to turn good results.
And that's another way to get the kids kind of beyond the walls of the schools and know what's going on outside the four walls, right? And I guess it's just a policy after all, right? And what are school board trustees supposed to do but help direct the policy?
Absolutely.
Right?
I really think that's an area that we can get involved with as trustees and make some changes. Talk to folks here in Calgary, employers, talk to our MLAs, talk to our government departments at different levels, and find out what's available and what do we need to do to make these changes, because there is the opportunity is limited by our imagination and our creativity.
Absolutely. We can only solve a new problem with new ways of thinking, not old ways of thinking. And furthermore, we need to hear from the parents, because we want to truly be able to represent what the parents want for their children. So we need you, parents.
We need you, parents. And join your school council, because that's really important. And I'd like to say one other thing. Monica, you and me, we're very green at all this. We're just beginners. We've got these big ideas, and I think a lot of trustees come in with big ideas, and the administration says, oh no, these two are troublemakers. And I think we're wise to that, for sure.
Yes, for sure. I don't expect to make huge changes after year one or anything like that. But whatever we can do, I'm happy to try to do.
Absolutely. And certainly myself, I believe that there is people within CBE, whether they be employees or teachers or parents or volunteers, that feel the same way that we do a lot of these things, that have been working on these things for years. And
so we especially need those types of people.
We absolutely, and I want to hear what they have to say, what they've been working on, and if there's ways that I can forward their goals and things that they've been working on for years towards this common direction. I absolutely think we need to build bridges with a lot of these people, that there are so many strong, passionate people within the CBE today. Let's hear from them. Let's find out what they think is going to be successful. Let's find a way forward for our kids.
Yeah, that's the thing, is to focus on the solution, right? And not focus on anything else like political affiliations or being partisan.
Yes.
I'm totally just about finding a solution. If it works, then let's try it. I don't care who it comes from, that idea.
Yes. Very good. Anything else on your list we should talk about? We can have another. We can do another one of these on another topic at a different time. I'm Darvin Zuch, running for CBE Trustee in Wards 12 and 14, and
I'm Monica Truong. I'm running for Wards 8 and 9.
What's your website, Monica?
Oh yes, it's Monica Truong. That's TRUONG.ca. So Monica Truong.ca.
Thank you for watching. Come out and vote on October 18th.
And even better, come out and vote earlier.
That's a good idea. Thank you, everyone.